What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ready to See podcast. This is the very first episode, and I'm kind of nervous, but I feel like making this podcast is going to be a good thing. In this podcast, I'm going to speak to you about the horror genre. I'm basically would like to speak to you about certain topics about horror. It doesn't really have to be just about horror movies or horror video games. It can be basically about anything. Like, say if you're like really nervous for a UFC fight that's coming up and you want your favorite fighter to win, something like that. That's what I will be speaking to you about. But today, I just want to introduce myself since it is the very first episode. Well, my name is Cristopher Zamora. I make YouTube videos about horror, and also it's in my other YouTube channel, which is titled Cristopher Zamora. I speak to you about certain topics, horror movies, horror characters, basically anything horror related to that topic. But the very first thing I want to talk to you about is like where I come from. Like, who am I? Again, my name is Cristopher Zamora. I live in Houston, Texas, one of the best cities in the US. As of right now, I am 25 years old. I went to college for a bit. I went to college for a few years and I got my associate's degree, and now I'm mostly just working a 9-to-5 job. I've probably been sitting here for 30 seconds just trying to see what I can say for the very first episode. And like I said, I am kind of nervous. Like, I should have made a little bit of notes, So let's just start with the very first thing. Like, how did I get into horror? Well, basically, when I was younger, I was very afraid of mostly anything that was horror. Mostly the movies. Like, one example I can tell you is maybe Final Destination was one of the first few fears I have. Like, if you guys have seen the movie, the very first one, there's the very first kill. I think his name is Todd. He got killed in his bathroom, and like the water, it just like disappeared. First it came in so he can like slip, like, where you take the shower, and just out of nowhere it just disappeared just like that. For some time I kind of did had a fear. Like, I remember that week when I first saw it on TV. It probably might not have been the very first time that I've seen it, but like, I remember seeing the whole thing all at once. Like, I just got bits and pieces when I very first saw it the very first time, but once I saw it all the way through, this movie was insane, man. I was afraid to take a shower, and that's why maybe I was like 1 or 2 weeks I was afraid of taking a shower, but I had it to because then it would have smelled bad, And that's like another thing I want to talk to you about, like personal experiences. Like I mentioned before, I don't just want to speak to you about like horror movies or the horror video games. Like, your own experiences that you're also afraid of to express, or like, if you get nervous if you're auditioning for a play, which kind of did happen to me. There was this play. I did forget the name of the play I was in, but it was when I was in college. And it was actually the last thing I did before I stopped doing acting stuff. It was in my theater class, and of course it was for a grade. And this project, I was I was practicing a lot of it. I was trying my hardest to memorize all those lines. And you know what? I was doing very well. I was doing very well with everything. Like, I memorized the lines and everything. But once it got to the actual play, when there was people around me, that's when I froze. I had stage fright. I think that's when I actually lost my my passion to actually make it as an actor. In that very moment, I was very afraid and just did not want to do anything with acting. But if years later, I now feel like I can actually do acting again. Right now, I'm mostly focusing on my YouTube channel and growing it. And I told myself probably when I'm in my 30s, that's when I would like to do acting again. But I'm open to actually going back to acting when now, basically when I'm 25, all the way to until I die, man. Until I die. One of the first things I was rarely into was acting when I was younger. There was a cat in the hat play that we did, and I think I just fell in love with it ever since. And you know the crazy part is about that play, I had it to sing, right? And I also got the part as the cat in the hat. And that part, man, it was I loved it. It was good experience. But like now as an adult, I cannot stand singing. I don't know what I was thinking. I remember I was in 7th grade, middle school, that we had that play. And like everybody mostly in my school did recognize that that was me as the cat in the hat, which was crazy. Even though my science teacher, I think her name is Miss Brown. I think that was her name. She did mention she did mention to me before, "Oh my God, Chris, you did a really good job." It was like I was like on top of the world, man, when I was playing that role. There was this one time that I actually kind of did forget my lines at that very moment. But you know what I did? I improvise. I usually do not improvise. Somehow, I just made that scene worked. One role that I would really like to play is maybe inside of a horror movie or being like in a dramatic role, like in the TV show Game of Thrones. I know it's over already, but like in those type of roles, like in the medieval times, and also like in a high school teen drama like Euphoria. Those are all shows that I really like, and maybe it'll be really fun to actually be part of those type of shows as well. It's because it's actually cool to see like people like Zendaya and Tom Holland. They're people close to my age, and they're doing it really big in Hollywood. They have all these roles that they're playing really well, and they worked very hard to get to that stage in their life. So for me, it would be I would like to do it someday as well. But at this very moment, like I said before, I'm just working on making the YouTube channel work. Speaking of the YouTube channel, I actually did get monetized finally for the very, very first time in this channel. I started posting videos since 2016. I remember the exact date. It was on May 31st, 2016. That was the day that I feel like it gave me somewhat of a purpose to actually make these videos. Because, like before, I thought that YouTube was a platform that, like, people who have huge businesses and like have contracts, they were the ones that they were able to do it. I had no clue that this was something like opening an Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter account. I had no idea it was something like that. I thought you needed to have like a contract to actually make something out of it. So it was actually cool for me because as of that very moment, I wanted to make short films. At first, I started with making a few motivational videos, which I thought they were good, but looking at back, uh, well, I was young. I was 19 years old. Like looking back on all my videos, mostly, I was like very young and very, how you say it? Like I was really into it starting, but like now I'm more matured and I know more how this YouTube game works since I have done it 6 years straight. Yes, there was some time that I took a break, but then I came back a few months later. I have done that before, but now I'm just trying to be consistent as possible. And I gotta say, man, that whole journey has been a ride. I think it was around 2018 or so. That's when YouTube made changed the rules about monetizing your channel. When you had to have at least 4,000 hours of watch time and over 1,000 subscribers. I had the subscribers at the time, but I was nowhere near of having the 4,000 hours just yet. And that took a really long time. No, I wasn't really focused on getting those hours at first, but since I was actually very close around 2020 or so, that's when I really started going in and just trying to get this channel monetized. And when I first hit the button to actually get monetized, I was so excited. But after I did like all the qualifications and all the recommendations that they wanted, they gave me a notification telling me that I gotta reuse content, which means that supposedly they thought I was using like somebody else's content and just reposting it. And I had to delete a ton of videos, and also had to change up my channel a lot. Like I really try to follow all the guidelines they had for that, and I think it did paid off. Like I was very frustrated. It actually took me at least 6 tries. I think it was around June or July when I just started trying to fix my channel, deleting all the videos, updating my about page and everything else. But like I kept getting denied and denied and denied. And I told myself, man, if I did not get it around December time, then I don't know, man. I think I probably might have given up YouTube. Nah, I doubt it. I doubt I would have given up, but I would have been just sad because I wouldn't be able to make money out of it. And at first, I didn't make a YouTube channel just to make money. I just wanted to have a platform where I can show my creativity and also show like my edits, my short films, even like show like a few vlogs like around that time, like around 2016 to 2017. Like vlogging was very big back then, and that's how I wanted to show my audience from my lens how my life was, how I got along with everybody in my family. And yeah, man, it was a very good time. But now finally I got monetized. And that's what I came back again to the topic of not just only talking about horror movies or horror video games. This was a real life experience. Like I was nervous, I was frustrated. It's like those type of feelings that you have in real life. That's something I would like to share with y'all from time to time in this podcast. Yeah, I would talk about well, my favorite horror movies. Like I mentioned before, Final Destination was one of the movies that I like when I was very young. Another movie recent that I really like watching is the Halloween 1978 movie, which is very surprising. I don't know why I did not see this movie earlier. I recently got into it around really last year in 2021. I never saw the movie, and it was cool to actually see how the movies were made back then. I think the main reason why I liked it was because maybe the aesthetic and like how the angles and cameras they used back then. Because for its time, I believe there were people that were really afraid of this movie, and I appreciate how they made the movie. John Carpenter was a genius for making this character come to life. The Michael Myers character. Basically, Michael Myers is someone that you don't want to mess with, and it's somebody that just doesn't care for others and just wants to hurt people. Doesn't have no sense of anything. He just wants to destroy. And I kind of find similarities of Michael Myers and the Terminator, the movie that came out in the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was another character that I actually found similarity between Michael Myers. They both are very deadly, and they just try to do their job and try to get the job done no matter the cost. And looking at the movie that came out this year, Halloween Ends, I did not really like the movie that much. I thought I was, but I really did not. Because introducing the I'll go to a few spoilers for Halloween Ends. Just letting y'all know. There were the introducing the character of Corey. I believe it was the wrong place and the wrong time to actually introduce him. They should have introduced him like having like other characters speak about him in the very first movie coming back to Halloween 2018, that people should have mentioned him from time to time. And maybe in Halloween Kills, he would have made his first appearance. And on the third one, we would have cared more about him. Because in this movie, it didn't really focus about Michael. Not much. Not like the other Halloween movies that came out before Halloween Ends. Corey's an interesting character, but just introducing him in Halloween Ends was a very bad idea, and they shouldn't have done it like that. And killing him off and the ending, it just did not make sense. I thought like he would have been like the next Michael Myers, since both of them are now dead, then the whole series, the whole franchise is basically dead. And I believe maybe in 5 to 10 years, they're going to reboot the Halloween franchise all over again. And I don't know, man. I feel like they should come up with new things, come up with a new serial killer. The one movie that I did not see coming was Terrifier 2. Now that movie was fuck, man. It's insane. I saw the first movie just like around October time with my brother. Jesus, what a movie. And I did see the second one as well. Now that character is insane, man. His name is Art the Clown, and he's just like one of the most scariest villains I've seen in horror, to be honest. He doesn't even make any noise when he's like murdering somebody. He's just a clown and just like laughing, but you can't really hear him. You just see him like laughing, just going at it and just murdering just people. It's insane. I do recommend those movies, but just watch it with somebody because it's insane. If you're into horror like that, then you will enjoy Terrifier. That's just one of those movies that, for me, probably I'll just need to take a break for a bit after watching it. That's what I did as well. It was like the time when I was starting making horror content almost every week on Fridays. I started watching this movie and probably had to take a break from horror after watching Terrifier 2, to be honest. Because that movie was insane. Probably I took maybe like 3 days off of not watching anything horror related, to be honest. Because, yeah, man, just watching him murder people in Terrifier 2 was crazy. Man, you got to give a props to the directors and all the creators who made this movie come to life. Well, both movies come to life. It was very great, and I appreciate them of making a cool character for the horror fans. And I believe that is it. I think that is it for the very first episode of the Rated C podcast. If you guys like this content, if you guys like the podcast, make sure to like this video and also subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if you're just hearing me speak in other websites, then feel free to subscribe to everywhere where I post it, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, wherever where this podcast is located, wherever you're hearing it from. So yeah, man. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Alrighty, guys. I will see you on the next one. Take care and live to the fullest. Bye now.